Welcome to In the Room, where we explore the elusive world of casting for film, TV, and commercials. Join us as we interview directors, writers, producers, and actors, taking a deep dive into their experiences with casting and how the ultimate decisions are made in bringing a story to the screen. Get an inside look at casting and find out what really goes on in the room. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Welcome, Emily Elizabeth Thomas.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so we are in the room today with Emily Thomas, and she is an award-winning writer-director from Austin, Texas. Accurate?
Accurate. Hook 'em.
All right. She gained recognition on the film festival circuit with her critically acclaimed short films Lola, Girl Got a Gun, and Untitled Marfa Project. Both films delve into the nuanced facets of the feminine experience in the South. She is currently developing her debut feature, Mad Girl, a surrealistic POV experience of mental illness and girlhood, with PGA Stanley Kramer award-winning producer Michael Riley. And she works commercially directing campaigns for ESPN, Disney, Southwest Airlines, Dell, and BACARDI. Her work confronts traditional ideas of femininity and seeks to inspire women and girls to believe in their magic, and she is a proud member of the DGA and an all-around badass.
And media trained.
And she's media trained.
I am media trained. God.
Yeah. So
all of that's factually accurate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the good
That's
stuff.
me. Okay.
Okay. So you're born here.
I was going to say her.
I'm born in the great state of Texas, in its
Yeah.
capital, Austin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to Austin High School, which is a very fun high school to go to because it's right in downtown.
New nickname called The Mistake on the Lake.
What?
The shade. No.
Terrible shade.
Okay.
But
And
go,
what are they like?
go
What are they?
Maroons.
Maroons.
Yeah,
we
go
love
Maroons.
it. We
Yeah.
love it.
Okay. Yeah, the mascot's like a big fuzzy maroon ball.
It's a fuzzy
It's, like,
maroon ball.
sick.
It is.
Okay, here's what I loved about going to Austin High School in the mid-2000s, okay? It was right across the street from Austin City Limits, so we would skip class and we would go over to Austin City Limits and we would catch whatever show
Sneak in?
was happening.
Or do you have tickets, have passes?
You can totally sneak in now.
I sneak it
Okay.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they give like
Sometimes.
proper days off now.
Statute of
do?
limitations, the 2000s,
Yeah,
you're fine.
Right.
Okay, cool.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they
Snuck
give like,
in.
I think they get like half day
Snuck
or
in
day
flask.
off to go do it now.
You snuck in flasks.
Yeah.
Hence
Yeah.
the mistake by the lake.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember that year where ACL was like all mud? It was like
Yeah.
completely mud. Okay.
Mhm.
So me and my friends were like wearing bikinis and we're like sliding through the mud. Like when we were supposed to be in biology or something. So
No wonder why
It
you
was
left
fun.
high
Yeah.
school.
it was very fun. It was very fun. And we would sneak off campus to go to P. Terry's for lunch and Magnolia
Okay.
Cafe, RIP.
I believe it because I will say, these guys know I drive for Uber. I drop a lot of kids off and I'm like, shouldn't they be in class at this time? It'd be random times throughout the day and they're getting an Uber back to school.
Oh,
I used to have
my
to sneak
God.
my own car off campus. Back in
Wow.
my day.
Topic.
I became a filmmaker. I mean, I came into this world an artist. I think that was very obvious to my parents and to me and anyone that interacted with me when I was a kid.
Why? Why was that obvious?
What mediums like hit you first?
Well, I wouldn't leave the house without a tutu on. So that was
Aw.
like pretty indicative that I was gonna be dressed however I wanted and
So you were performative, like you were.
performative, very performative. Would put on shows, would put on fashion shows every single night for my family. Yeah, Barbie tea parties, was very, very actory when I was a kid. I played Annie in my school play when I was in elementary school, and I was very
Got the
proud of that.
lead.
Got the lead. And it was a singing role, obviously. So I sung my little heart out, and I was very proud. Yeah, very actory. And as you know, I've worked with Heather several times as an actress. I love actors,
You do.
and they're my favorite people in the entire world. So I think there's a part of me that is actory. And that's sort of something that I think is strange about me as a director, because I just have a really, really intense connection to actors. And I also just have a really sort of telepathic understanding of what they're going through in a scene. Also because I'm a writer, it's all connected. But yeah, as a kid, I was really actory. And my mom took me to New York a few times when I was maybe like an adolescent, 11, 12, 13. We went to Broadway and we saw August Osage County. And I was like, she would have me twirl in Times Square and be like, I'm going to be a star. I'm going to be a star. So she was always very supportive of me being, you know, a filmmaker and an artist and a dramaturgical child. But yeah, very performative, very actory, very big personality, very the boss of everyone and everything. And that just sort of naturally, I think, snowballed into a creative identity. But it wasn't always filmmaking. It was painting, sculpture, always loved clothes, was always trying to style my brothers, was always trying to dress people up, was always planning myself and my group of friends like Halloween costumes. Like we were all a box of crayons one year, so everyone wore monochrome and I like styled them all. And I was pink.
Of course.
Obviously. You can't tell now, but I love pink on screen. Yeah, so I was painting, I was drawing, I was yeah, writing.
Were your parents like, did it translate into their job life? I mean, did you see?
Yeah, kind of. I grew up in a really entrepreneurial environment, which is very, very deeply embedded in my DNA as a person and in my DNA as a director. You know, no matter how much representation I have or how many rosters I'm on or how many movies I make with production companies, I think I always sort of consider myself my own enterprise. And I think more directors should feel that way. Like we are the people that bring our brand and our voice and our identity, you know, through the industry kind of on our own backs. And I think that's a really important part of being a director. So I grew up in this really hardworking entrepreneurial environment. My parents were printers, coming from a background working in newspapers. So like letterpress and offset typesetting. And my grandparents worked for the Austin American Statesman. So really hardworking union people coming up, you know, with ink on their fingers, as we like to say. So they were craftspeople. And then they built a business out of nothing that's still around today. So sort of saw that come alive throughout my childhood and was always growing up, you know, on weekends at our print shop and running around in my tutu at our family business and just saw how hardworking and industrious my parents were and, you know, all the people that built the business with them were. So yeah, that they're creative people, but they're
and so
also
you believed that you could make something with your hands and
for sure
have it be a thing.
Yeah, I believe that sort of whatever idea I had, I could, no matter how far-fetched, I could push it into reality.
Yeah.
And that was something that growing up in such an entrepreneurial space taught me, but also I came to this world like that. Just always, like since I was little, if I had an idea for something like an outfit for kindergarten or some sort of like big fort me and my siblings were going to build that was, you know, huge and architectural. It was my job to like make sure that it happened. So I've always had a sense of that whimsical, playful, colorful, sort of like girl spinning in her tutu in Times Square. And I still have that in my work. And I've like fought really hard to preserve that quality in myself.
Do you feel like you just made me think of something about kind of myself? It's like
100%. You're like that too. That's why we love each other.
I was like, you kind of have a place in you where you believe in the magic of it.
Yes.
But you also fully believe in your ability to functionally make it happen.
Yes. And I think the magic part of me is the screenwriter, actory part of me. And the director part of me is the like absolute boss that is going to make the writer, actory part of me, you know, believe in putting it out into the world. So there's sort of I have like it's very, there's a lot of duality.
Yeah.
On set, are you conscious of that? Of like, okay, look, I need the clients, I need everybody out. This is the magic part, and I need to talk to the actors. And like, you protect that?
I try very hard to protect that.
It's hard in the commercial world.
It's really hard with commercials.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky, and that I have in a great commercial career that I've fought so hard for, and I continue to fight so hard for.
It's such a hard game.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's
just
everything.
Getting one is
a miracle.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of skill in getting them.
Yeah.
That I've learned along the way, and I have my tricks and my toolkit now.
Magic.
I have them. Yeah. My treatments are pretty wild. I'm known to be a very whimsical, magical treatment maker, that a lot of shock and awe, a lot of like Bob Fosse going on, like a lot of razzle dazzle with.
But that's so hard when it gets down to rubber meets the road in commercials to keep that.
It's so hard
to keep that alive.
It's so hard. But I think, you know, I think I'm so lucky that I have made so much of my own work at a really young age. And I fought so hard for these little scripts that I wrote and then made come to life, that Heather was in many of them. That I was able to exercise that magical thinking and magical doing and magical being on set from a really young age. So I have an outlet for it always with my writing and directing career in the independent film world.
It also establishes your brand, right? Like it's like that, this is what I do. Yeah, this is what I do.
And my brand is, you know, as a commercial director, is actually really in line with my identity as an artist, which is really, really amazing. I had to fight pretty hard for that, but also I think that some of my early work was so just like on the money with what I wanted to be, the kind of stories I wanted to be telling, that I was able to just like hold that line till now. Developing my first feature, as you mentioned in my beautiful bio.
The whole system, though, is set up in a sense to be like, you're amazing. We love what you do. Now go do it like we want you to do.
100%.
Right.
And it sounds like you have this North Star since you were a kid.
Yeah.
It's like, there's only one way to do it for you.
Yeah.
If it's false, you can't.
But it makes it a little bit easier for me to be on set and have my video village saying they need it their way. And I'm like, cool. Like, give me 3 takes and I'm going to do a few things my way.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll like them better. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, you know?
It's understanding the game and where you fall in the totem pole. And like, eventually they're going to take everything away and they're going to cut
100%.
it. Yeah.
But
it used to not be that way.
Well, in Europe, it's not that way.
Yeah. In Europe, it's a lot of not that way in a lot of ways.
Well, in commercials in Europe, it's very director driven, and we get the edit and we get the color grade, and it's amazing.
It's how it used to be here.
I know.
Maybe we should talk to
money, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk a little bit about what that space is that you guys are talking
I was just about to ask.
to the audience, as far as like, so from my perspective, what I'm seeing, what they might not know is, so some of the short films that you made early on, Lola, Girl Got a Gun, the Untitled Marfa Project.
What was the sequence of that? Which one was first?
Lola.
Was Cowboy first?
Cowgirl was first.
Okay, and then Lola, and then Untitled.
No, Lola was my first short film.
Oh, okay.
And then Untitled Marfa is the deserty one that came second.
Yeah.
Cowboy Truth.
Cowboy Truth.
That was in 2020. That was like a couple years ago.
Wow, I would have thought totally opposite. I would have thought it was Cowboy and then Untitled and then Lola. Watching him.
So if I'm not mistaken, like wasn't Cowboy Truth? You were making a cowboy trilogy, and wasn't Cowboy Truth supposed to sort of be the third one, or no?
Yeah, I have.
He started with the third one.
Started with the third one. Well, I was also for Cowboy Truths. I was bored in the pandemic, and I had just come off a huge commercial with Disney, and it was the commercial that qualified me for the DGA
for the Mandalorian. And
for the Mandalorian.
Talk about doing that in the pandemic.
And sorry, I didn't mean to push you. What your point was?
Okay, no. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So okay,
that is the craziest story. One of the craziest stories I have.
Okay, so let's talk about the world of like making your short films, and maybe describe what your short films are like, and talk about because that to you as a filmmaker and what you're wanting to express in those type films.
Well, in 2020, right before I made Cowboy Truce, I did the promo campaign for The Mandalorian, which was for ESPN. So it was like an ESPN Disney crossover project, and it was my first union job, and it was for the NBA Finals. So it broadcasted throughout the whole NBA Finals.
You got a massive client.
Massive client.
Yeah.
And
you
so
got Disney, you got ESPN, you got NBA.
And that team is, I actually was recently bidding with them. That team is amazing. They're like incredible. If you're going to do commercials, it's a really, really incredible team to work with. They're really creative.
Which?
The ESPN Disney. ESPN has like an in-house agency. And they develop crossover commercials between the two brands, and they're really smart and really cool. But I just come off that huge job, so that was a huge paycheck, and I was like, "This is amazing," but I want to make something
like any smart artist,
right?
I got cash. Let's go make something.
Yeah, let's go make something. And so I made something. I made Cowboy Truce, which is a sort of short film reenaction of Patti Smith's poem by the same name, Cowboy Truce for Sam Shepard.
Which she reads beautifully. And we were in Eric Friend's studio, which is somewhere near here, right around the corner, and read that. So
stars Justin Arnold,
who's great, who's fabulous,
is an icon. Yeah. How lucky am I? I've been working with Heather Kafka and Justin Arnold since I was like 22 years old. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
what is happening to me?
You got lucky. You did good casting.
What are you gonna say?
She returns to her.
I return. I'll be returning to Heather for my entire career. I mean, working with someone like Heather is just unreal. I love you.
Actually, when she brought me on Lola, I remember crying to her upstairs in that farmhouse. That was probably the last thing I was going to do.
Oh my God. And I was like,
do you remember that?
You are unreal.
That was a hard moment in life for me that day. I'm not going to get choked up about it, but I remember I was like, I think this is the last thing I'm going to do.
It's definitely the Heather special. Like, as far as like you delivering heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, like you get called in to do this heavy, heavy lifting all the time. And the truth that you brought to that small time on which was beautiful. The cinematography on all of them are amazing, but also just and your guys' ability to hold space without words, and like the truth that you bring to that heavy, hard lifting is really impressive. And it's always like it's the Heather special. It's what you get called for.
I know, and I was so tired by the time she got to me, and I really wanted to work with her so bad, but I was so tired by the time you came. And
it was hard
in that hallway. I was like, this is the last thing
I know.
I think I can do. And she was like, no, you can't. And
I was like,
I really wanted to
not.
work with her so bad, but I was like, I think I'm retiring. Like,
No.
If it's the last thing, can you just get through today?
yeah. She was like,
You're
no,
not
you can't.
retired for me. You're retired for other people, but you're not retired for me.
Yeah.
I got more coming at you.
Write something that she doesn't have to crack herself.
Yeah.
in.
Can we do it? Can we do a
Song
Three
and dance?
Stooges thing?
Me
Yeah.
do comedy?
I
Yeah.
totally can do comedy. I'm so funny. I swear to God, I'm
Hilarious.
so funny.
You're
Oh my
literally
God,
so
I'm
funny.
so funny.
That's sort of my special things that female actresses have to
Yeah.
crack themselves open for.
Yeah.
And
And
that's sort of what I write.
Yeah, totally.
My feature coming up is absolutely no exception.
Yeah.
But this time it'll be women and girls.
Well, it seems like you're prepared.
I'm
You're
totally
ready. You're in the
I'm
space.
ready. I'm in the zone. Call me.
I
Anyway,
will be calling you.
so so Lola and all of those
Yeah,
films
Lola-
spoke to that.
Yes. Lola Girl Got a Gun is a very sad but very sweet little short that I actually wrote the script when I was in grad school at NYU. And I did not think that I was going to direct. Not yet, at least. I thought I would direct when I got older. I always wanted to make movies, but I think that the role of the director is a very daunting, intimidating role for anyone that doesn't really, that's young and doesn't know what it is. And in my case, that was young, didn't know fully what it was, and also didn't know what I had in me. I think the role of director seemed like it wasn't possible.
When you say had in me, what do you mean by that?
I think now that I've directed so much and I've, done, a lot of commercials and have done a bunch of short films and I'm getting ready for my first feature, I know that I was like put here as a director. And I didn't know that then because I hadn't done it yet.
Yeah.
But do you think it was just because you didn't know all of the moving pieces, or because you didn't know what you had to say? Like,
I think at the time, this was sort of right before the Me Too movement happened. Lola came out, I think, like the same week that the Harvey Weinstein story dropped with the Hollywood Reporter or the New York Times, whichever one was first. So I think at the time there wasn't the same female filmmaker renaissance that there is right now. And I sort of came into the business like really right when that was happening. Which was lucky, but
That
also
whole wave was crazy because it was like we went from all males to
Yeah.
then it was all white women.
Yeah,
Then it was
completely.
all ethnic women, and then it was ethnic men, and it's like it just completely changed the landscape of the business.
Of course.
Yeah.
The floodgates came up.
Yeah.
It
so
was-
you felt like coming up, you didn't really see women directing?
There,
Well, I saw Sofia Coppola, which is, she's one of my heroes. And I think
but that still makes sense. You're like, okay, of course she has an
right,
in.
of course,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of her last name, but also she's brilliant in her own right.
In her own
but
right, for
yeah,
sure.
I love Jane Campion. There was Catherine Bigelow. There was some women there, but it wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't have the sense of, oh, I'm a woman that wants to make movies, I'm obviously going to be directing. That wasn't my sense.
Yeah, I don't think
It was like they must
anybody
have
knows.
something extra special. And so
Yeah.
unless you feel that about yourself, then
Exactly.
right.
But when I wrote Lola, I was like, maybe someone else should direct this, and that thought just didn't sit right with me, like sensorially. That didn't feel right in my body, it just didn't feel right in my soul to have someone else direct this, little movie that I'd written. And so I called all my friends, the first one being Miss Laura Gordon. Shout out to Laura Gordon. I don't know which camera it is. Love you.
Ding.
She's an incredibly talented director and production designer and wardrobe stylist and producer, pretty much everything, out of Chicago. And we've been best friends for many, many years. And she both production designed and styled a lot of my early work, a lot of my early short
Phenomenal
films.
job. Like stuff is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Laura?
Laura. ding.
We're obsessed with you.
Yeah.
We're obsessed with you.
But just everything, the cinematography, location,
Yeah.
like, you did so
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
For sure. I mean, a short
Yeah.
film, it's not like there's a big return other than
there's no
the gift
return.
of the art. Yeah.
There's no return.
No
There's a
return.
return. It's a gift of art.
Right.
And it's a gift of experience, and it's a gift of like seeing a painting. But yeah, it's hard to get a money to do a short, or to get people to pay people their time is near impossible.
Everything's impossible.
Yeah.
Anything that gets made is a miracle. That's why I hate oh my God. No one come for me. I hate that. Is it an app, Letterboxd? The platform Letterboxd.
Yeah,
God,
I don't know what it is.
My boyfriend is gonna laugh so hard when he listens to this because he is all on Letterboxd and I hate it. But I really don't like there being specific platforms for movie criticism. It really irks me because my opinion is like the general public has no idea how hard it is to make movies, and everything is a miracle.
Yeah.
And if you don't like a movie, like, cool, just sit with yourself and not like it.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, it's
you
the app where
don't-
people can criticize projects that come out.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know what it was. That's why.
Yeah. And you can get on there and like be in the comments and be like, yeah. And then like the Steadicam shot. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Have you even? Do you
Dude,
even know what
You're
that
like,
is?
you don't
Yeah, I
understand
don't even know.
like how
Yeah.
hard it is to get anything made.
Anything.
Anything. And these people,
it's a miracle.
These people like have never. It's just, dude. You have no like idea how hard this is.
I know.
And I mean, some of them are good. The criticisms that are funny. Like, one of my best was I shit in my hands and I stood up and clapped for a movie we worked on. I was like, that's amazing.
Someone said
Oh
that
my God.
That's
on a
amazing.
comment.
Yeah.
Did you screenshot it and
Oh
frame
yeah,
it?
I sent it to everybody.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I said, this is a review we
yeah.
got.
One time I had a brief stint as a sort of in-house political advertising director for Democrats. And one time HuffPost called a campaign I did for a senator in Colorado an abomination. And I was like, this is iconic. I am an abomination.
For the most part,
I printed it
for
out
the
and
most
framed
part,
it.
even I mean, it's just like, dude, you just don't know how difficult this is.
I mean,
just to get it.
it's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always, to anybody that makes anything, I'm like, congratulations. like you did
Yeah,
it. You made
totally.
something. You know?
I mean, I already
100%.
feel that way about all the people who are like just bombing all over Napoleon. I'm like, oh, can you just,
it looks so good.
but even still, I'm like, can it just be in the theaters and just have a run without you shitting all over it already?
Yeah.
Look at they did battle scenes for you.
But
Just
I would
100%.
also say
sit down
this.
and go to the fucking
every movie,
100%.
every movie you love,
100%.
every movie you love, look up the reviews and you'll see they were shit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like they're critics. That's their job. It's their job to critique.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like you can take it with a grain of salt. Like-
It's just worse
And
now. in the
Ridley
age of
Scott's
social
Ridley
media.
Scott is an absolute legend, and he does not get his flowers in the way that he should. That is one
Oh,
of
yeah,
the living
he's-
legend.
yeah.
I mean,
Just
even
watch his movies.
Yeah.
even if it's
Just-
not the best movie in the world or whatever, just fucking they made this huge
Totally.
movie.
Yeah.
Like just let the movie have be the movie. Like come on. Just,
And speaking of casting,
Ah.
you know how hard it probably was to
My
get
God.
Joaquin off whatever else he was doing all over the world to come and do that movie. You know,
I
like
mean,
the
hundreds
scheduling of someone like
people worked
Joaquin
really
Phoenix.
hard every day. And
I think
cared.
when Ridley calls, there's a different. It's a different.
that's true.
It's a little different.
Hey, maybe that's a me problem and not a Ridley problem.
I mean,
Which is
everybody
great.
just loves the eye roll.
I often complain like when I'm working for people that are well known, those calls are a lot easier than when I'm working for people.
I mean, it's just like if we're gonna
course.
just eye roll everything away, then just what the fuck is the point of anything?
Yeah.
Like, fine,
Yeah.
just go make
Well,
a
also,
TikTok
too,
video and be
also-
done with it.
Also, too, the attention.
Like, what the fuck? Like, why spend any money on anything?
I'm
Just go
impressed people could
TikTok
sit
in your
through it,
bathroom, a little
right?
dance. And
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
go-
today, like people's attention span is like.
Yeah, I'm surprised people finished it.
People can't get through movies. It's not possible. You're in theaters and you see people pulling out their iPhones, and I'm like,
right?
this is
Yeah.
sacrilege. Like, just like, I swear, like the text that you have from whoever is not more important than finishing the entire runtime of this Martin Scorsese movie.
I just
Like,
did that one. I
this-
just did it, and I only did one P. Only got it once.
I did none.
None.
And I
That's
was
good.
so proud of myself because I was drinking like a huge Diet Coke.
That's impressive.
I know,
Yeah.
it was rad.
Okay, back to my
It's
media
really
training.
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Not
we
doing a
go
very good
from
job at
we're
this.
in this
Maybe
cowboy world. We're in Lola, and then we do Marfa.
Yeah.
And you have, how do you get to Azure Sky and like how does all this happen?
Too. I need to put you and Azure Sky in a movie together. That's actually what I need to do with my life.
Okay.
I'll find some time in between my next commercial and my
I'll allow it.
feature. And no, just kidding. You guys are incredible together. You had one scene together, I think, and it was like remarkable.
Awkward
and
AF.
y'all like fell in. No, you loved each other.
I mean, it was supposed to be, right? Sort of. Okay.
Yeah, it was supposed to be awkward. We'll go
In the
with that.
trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked.
So how does that happen?
I worked with a casting director called Adrian Stern in New York. She.
It's attacking you.
Did I hit it with my leg?
It's all up in your grill. There.
She wants it down a little.
Okay, cool. Adrian Stern in New York. She is rad, and I think I called her and I was like, this is my budget, I don't know.
$5.
And this is the script, and this was the project I did before this, Lola. A lot of really fun, exciting, creative doors opened for me after I did Lola.
It had a nice festival run.
It had a nice festival run. It didn't play any of the like big, splashy, fancy ones, but that's okay.
Talk to that a little bit about that, like how it's still valuable just to do the smaller ones.
I, to this day, I've played, I think, a couple of Oscar qualifying film festivals in Europe. They like me better in Europe.
They like filmmakers in general.
Yeah. But I've not played a Sundance or a South by or a Toronto or a Cannes, not yet.
It's crazy too, because South by is usually pretty kind to its own.
You would
Right.
think.
You would think.
And they love Heather, so
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is, but it's okay. The best thing about short films in your early career is building your community, and building your colorists and your editors and your sound designers and your crew, and developing your voice, and Lola Girl Got a Gun was a big sort of explanation point that I kind of dropped into the market. And it's still one of my favorite things I've ever done. It sort of perfectly encapsulates kind of who I am as a filmmaker. I make stories, I write and direct stories about women that go through, hell and back, and they come out swinging with courage and gentleness and love, and grit. And that is sort of what I do now and what I'll always do. And it's what I did when I was 23 years old, when I was making Lola. It was my first thing I ever directed. And I just had this sort of incredible visceral sense of what it was from like the second I wrote it. And that's still how I feel about everything that I write. It's just a almost like synesthetic experience, like in the body, that I have when I have written a script and I, start to see it directorially. And now that I have, so much more experience than I did then, the like shot design starts in my head and I can see coverage sort of, it becomes more mechanical, as well as sensorial. But Lola was, because I felt so passionately about it and because it had such a unique tone and because it said something so specific, people really liked it. Even though it didn't, play Sundance or anything like that, it certainly made a big impact on anyone that saw it, and it won some awards in the regional circuit. And I think it inspired people, and I think it inspired the people that worked on it. I was at Antone's the other night, and Connor, who was our on-set art director, like comes running up to me and he's like, "Oh my God, hey, I just saw your BACARDI commercials." And I was like, "Dude, what's up?" And he's like, "I play the banjo in this band that we're seeing." And I was like, "Dude, so cool." But I'll be on set like in New York or in LA and a PA or a second AC or a loader or something will be like, hey, I watched Lola, and like, whoa. And I'm like, this is incredible. Like, she comes back to me like all the time in a way that's really beautiful. But back to Adrienne Stern, I sent her Lola and she watched it and she was like, yeah, like, I'm going to help you, And that was really incredible. And that started happening to me after I made that first one, where I truly didn't, I had no budget and I was just trying to make stuff. And I started kind of garnering that reputation. I was in New York, living in New York at the time, of like the girl that was on micro budgets, but that was sort of making really
can't tell.
Rad.
You can't tell it's your first one either at all.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's done very well.
You couldn't
Really well
tell
crafted.
on set either that it was her first time directing. I mean, you were confident and poised and lovely. And I mean, I don't think I knew that was your first time directing.
Yeah, that was ever. I had never done it. But once I started to figure out what directing is, I was like,
this comes naturally.
This is I've been this way my whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
But what did you boil it down to? Like directing, having a strong opinion or a strong North Star, or what is it that you're like, I get it?
Empathy. I think for me, at the very root of my directorial practice is empathy and an ability to hold a lot on one's shoulders and not have your knees buckle. Yeah. I think that's huge. That helps me a lot with the big conglomerate clients.
Yeah.
Helps me a lot with working on really big union budgets or really small, $15,000 budgets where I'm like, okay, like
have to make miracles happen.
And I've just kind of always been that way. I just was sort of put here to be able to carry a lot and say a lot, which is, a huge part of how I was raised down here in the South. But I think it's an incredibly important lesson for any young filmmakers that are just starting out and making their first couple things. Those first few handful of short films you're going to make are not going to go to Sundance. There's a lot of secrets that we all know about the big festival circuit
politics
players that you don't know when you first come in, that's, and you think you're going to do one thing and it's going to go to Sundance and you're going to be doing a Marvel movie in 2 years. That's just really not what happens. No matter how good your work is, it is just not going to play those big headlines, at least not in the beginning. But there's so much value to be derived from working incredibly hard at putting together a piece of work or a collection of works that speaks really strongly to who you are as an artist and what you want to say, and making it beautiful. And, like we shot Lola on an Alexa Mini, and that came from just being in New York and, my community and my knowledge of filmmaking, the fact that I had studied it in undergrad and in grad school, and have always been just an obsessive student of this medium. I still am. I was listening to IndieWire on the way here.
Did you have the location? What all did you have for Lola?
Nothing.
So you had to beg, borrow, and steal for everything.
Yeah. The location we found on... someone recently ran into the son of that location owner.
Oh, right.
That was there as a PA for us, and that worked on the movie. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Katie. And he was like, "Oh my God, remember Lola?" It just, everyone that worked on it, it just keeps circling me. I found that on Airbnb, I think.
Okay.
And we just messaged them, and I was like, "Hey, can I bring a camera and like some actors?" And they let us paint their house, which was that's actually crazy.
You painted it pink all inside upstairs.
I painted. Whoa,
that's
we
right.
Painted that entire upstairs room bubblegum pink,
and they were probably more pissed about the glitter that's still there.
Yeah, probably. They were cool. Like they were like, yeah, whatever.
Did you have to paint it back to what they had originally?
I think we did.
Can our son be a PA?
I think we did.
That's so interesting. I always worried about
that was crazy.
That is crazy.
Locations. I worked on a short when I lived in Atlanta, and we were trying to find it was one of the hardest things, and I'm like, I'm an actor. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I don't even know how we found what we found. But I was like, how do you guys find just?
I think Austin used to be really cool about that.
Yeah,
it was pretty laid back.
Yeah.
But this was like, where were we? LaGrange or somewhere?
We were in LaGrange. Yeah, which is LaGrange rocks, man. It was so cool.
LaGrange rocks.
But that location was
this is perfect.
Yeah. And we painted it, and we did a lot. We took a lot out. Pretty much their whole house.
Yeah.
I don't know if they knew that. Hey guys. And we had like an amazing Alexa Mini package from New York. We flew the camera down, brought a lot of crew from New York. Just those were the people that were around me because I was in New York.
You had your team.
Yeah, I had my team. And then one of my best dear friends, one of my best friends of, that's still one of my best friends, Stefania Dulowski, who's an incredible editor at an edit shop in New York called Exile. She was a cutting assistant at the time, and she flew down with us and from New York and she script souped and then her edit house, Exile, which is, a huge shop off Houston and, in Soho, gave us a room. Her EP gave us a cutting room for like months to edit in, which was sick.
Awesome, yeah.
And we struck a major deal with the Color House. A lot of people, I still get this. I just did this pretty big BACARDI campaign for Halloween, and the budget was totally fine, but all my friends that are colorists that work on huge campaigns are used to, the big money coming in for commercials. And I didn't have big, commercial money for this one. It was pretty just kind of normal sized. But my colorist that I work with all the time, just he wanted to do it anyways because it was so cool. It was zombies making cocktails, bursting out of graves. So they just kind of he wanted to do it.
Right.
And it's sick and it looks so good.
It's actually pretty cool outside.
Thank you. Thank you. But people want to do cool work.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of something.
Well, the cool work gets cool work, right?
Yeah, completely.
So, and a lot of times the bigger the budget, the less cool it is. The more,
100%. The less latitude you have. And, I've found with short films and with commercial filmmaking, when you have a really, really exciting, kind of crazy idea, people, and you have the track record, like they can look back at your work and be like, she does exciting, crazy stuff, and this is really cool, and I know she's going to kill it. If it's a smaller budget, they'll let you do exciting, crazy, They'll
take the risk.
They'll take the risk if it's a smaller budget. And taking risks on smaller budgets and like killing it and knocking it out of the park over and over and over again leads to
more opportunities.
Budgets. Yeah. And I'm still in the phase in my commercial career where I'm still doing small budgets and knocking it out of the park and doing crazy stuff on small budgets and still building towards those big, exciting. I've done a handful of those, but I'm still in the space where I'm doing really exciting, weird. I get the weird creative.
That's awesome.
It's so fun.
Yeah. So like, when do you go? Like, I'm watching, and it's like we go from this, cowboy world of like deep truths and what you make, and then like I pop over to like Dr. Bombay, Snoop Dogg, and it's like, when did you?
That one was fun too.
When did you make this jump into the commercial world, and like how did that start to take shape? Were you in New York?
I was in New York. I recently moved to LA. I don't know if you knew that.
Recently now?
I moved to LA in January.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I'm in LA now.
Bro, you're always leaving me.
I know. I was in New York for almost 10 years. I went to grad school there and very much forged my early career in New York, which is a very intense place to forge one's early career. And unlike LA, where the focus is really movies and independent film, there's a lot of focus on the advertising industry in New York, and it's huge. And sort of every young filmmaker in New York is like trying to get into commercials, obviously to pay one's bills, but also advertising is fun. And I imagine some commercial directors that also do narrative film like myself probably maybe they could feel like commercials are kind of a drag, but I think commercials rock because you can do weird stuff in such a short amount of time, and the speed of it is really satisfying for me. Like on that BACARDI commercial, it was awarded, and then I had to, like within like a week and a half or 2 weeks, build a life-size cemetery on steel deck during a hurricane. And that to me is like giddy up. Like that is so exciting for me. And I love it. And it's so, and then, you know, I work my ass off and don't sleep for a few weeks and then it's over. And I'm like, yay, now something's on TV. And it's awesome. Whereas I've been developing my future for 5 years, you know.
Yeah, I don't think people understand what a scramble it is and how quick that turnaround is for commercials once they award. Because everyone's like, can you tell me when this, I mean, we don't know. Like we just, this literally just happened and we're trying to make it happen.
Can we talk about a little bit back to what y'all were talking about, how difficult it is? Because I think as actors, you know, when you're first starting off, you see these casting directors and these directors, and we put so much of our hope into you guys and don't even know. Like for those who don't know the grit and grind that it takes, like, do you remember your first commercial project being awarded to you and what that actually, how that happened? To help like everybody
also, we're all in the same boat. We're all as good as the last thing we we all kill what we eat.
But you know, new actors, we don't know that. Like baby actors, and those of us who don't have the opportunity to work with you guys like one-on-one, like I learned so much working with you. I didn't know everything that you guys do. And that helped me realize, casting directors are like us. They have to really try to get another job just like the actors. But I don't think newbies don't understand what directors go through as well.
Oof.
And then y'all were talking about how hard commercials are.
I actually remember over recently, not that long ago, I was last with you. You were trying to get a whiskey job.
And
lost
that one.
And you were like, she was showing me her pitch deck and stuff.
So can we talk about that a little
this
bit?
looks good.
And
like you should get
McNary
it.
was in it, who I know came to the podcast. I lost that one. That was a hard loss. I loved that. I loved that creative. But it's fine. I lose all the time, but I win some. And then
you put a ton of work into those losses.
My gosh.
The amount of work that you get just on the hope.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so let's break it down. Let's take my BACARDI commercial, which is the most recent commercial I did. It was out for Halloween. Of course, I can go into it, but I have to protect the trade secrets of my production company and, you know, my EP and stuff like that.
Whatever you want.
Or talk about the whiskey one that you didn't get.
Yeah.
Still trade secrets.
Winning.
Winning.
Talk about the winning ones.
No, we're talking about winning. I just lost another one recently, but I'm about to bid on one that... Anyways, I really want to win. BACARDI came to me through my East Coast sales reps. So I'm signed to a production company called Art Class. They're in LA, and they're super prolific production company that does all sorts of stuff.
And that company has reps. Yes. Midwest, East Coast, South. Like they have different agents basically for the production company.
Yeah, that sort of keep all the directors on the roster of Art Class in mind for everything. And those sales reps rep several different production companies. So they handle a lot of director sales essentially.
Yeah. And they're looking at boards and they're like an agent looking at breakdowns basically. Like an actor.
So like, do they then think, Emily might be good for this?
They're pitching. They're pitching.
They're pitching us actively.
Yeah.
Like they're
same as an agent.
Yeah.
Same game.
Yeah. Okay. And so I have a collection of them. I have great reps on the East Coast and Midwest and West Coast. So the BACARDI boards came through my East Coast sales reps, and immediately when it came in, everyone was like, Emily. It was spooky. Halloween is very Tim Burton-esque, weird production design, but also in the back of their minds, they know that I can work a lot of magic on a tiny budget, and they know that I will build a cemetery, you know, if I need to, which I did. And they also know that I have the crew relationships to be able to call my production designer or my DP or you know, and really anyone, and be like, this is the budget and this is what we're gonna do. And before you say no, you know.
I will say to a director when they call with that, and I'll say, do you need me to help you bury the body? And if they say yes, I'm like, okay, I'm in. If they're like, no, not this one, I'm like, okay.
I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah.
I need you to help me bury a body. Yeah. And most of the time when I make those calls to my people, it's really exciting. Like, I'm like, dude, this is so cool. Like, we're going to make zombies explode out of steel deck, and I have this incredible SFX makeup artist that I've been wanting to work with for years. She built Harry Styles' mermaid tail for the music video. Aren't you excited? You know, I'm so great
then
at
you
like
call her
rallying.
and say, I have this guy.
Right.
Yeah, and commercial directing is as much writing, for me at least. You know, I am involved as a writer as soon as I get the scripts, and that's just sort of part of bidding with me, directing. But you also take on a producing role, especially once you've been doing it for a few years. I profit share with my production company, so I also, on the jobs I do, I profit share. So I'm trying to watch the numbers too, because I don't want to go over. If I come in under, I get a pay raise. Everyone wins.
Which is a careful double-edged sword. If you get the wrong person in that position, they're always just undercutting everybody. And your team eventually says, dude, I can't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You got to have an honest person in that position, because
100%.
I've stopped working with people because I'm like, dude, 100%. every time.
100%. Right. Well, you also have to understand.
And you're staying at the Four Seasons, and you guys went to dinner last night to
100%.
sushi?
Yeah, 100%. But a smart director will recognize what jobs to do that on and what jobs to not do it on. And a smart commercial director will also understand the impact of whatever you've brought in on your own reel. And I'm still in a process of building my reel. And, you know, I have dream commercial clients I want to work with in Europe and in the US. And BACARDI was actually a dream commercial client of mine, because that account is very fun, and they always do really wild and performative and cool razzle-dazzly type stuff. And they do big set builds, and that's been an account that I've been after, which my sales reps know. So BACARDI came in.
You have a different,
awesome.
You probably have a different production company in Europe too, right? That you're with?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. But a lot of that.
It's like it's coming.
Yeah.
It's like it's coming.
But that's normal, right? So your sales reps are getting you work in Europe?
Yeah,
okay.
no, not in
just
Europe.
US, okay.
I'm working on Europe.
Okay.
That's my next frontier. I really want to work in fashion, commercially. The like Gucci product campaigns are
like awesome,
unreal. Yeah. And all those accounts are in Europe.
Yeah.
So I actually actively, you know, kind of separately from in cahoots with my production company and my team of VPs, I'm trying to build a fashion reel.
We've done a ton of Louis Vuitton.
Can I go with you? Can I go with you?
Yes. You can come anywhere I am in my pocket.
We've done a lot of Louis Vuitton out in Marfa.
Okay, well, what's up?
I'm just saying, as far as like,
go with you?
I'm saying as far as their vibe, right?
Can I go with you?
And you selling your...
Send them my reel. Let's go.
Okay.
Giddy up.
John, you need to start bringing me with you.
I'm talking to Louis. Me and Louis are like, it's like I'm talking to Louis. We get the call too.
Cool. Okay, well, let's do it.
What's happening today on In the Room?
Let's do it.
Right. John, I'm your assistant. Just start bringing me.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a 6.5 hour drive.
I worked in Marfa.
Successful meeting.
Shooting in Marfa
today
sucks, but that's okay. Let's do it.
Why does it suck?
It's so far, and
what, Marfa?
If you don't have enough mags, it's like a whole.
But if you have a great podcast to listen to while you drive there,
well,
exactly.
No, I mean, if you have to shoot there, let me know. I got people on the ground, and we got people in El Paso with stuff that can get it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I'm going to be doing the next
Louis Vuitton
commercial with you. So I have no idea why.
I wish I had that. I wish I had that power.
Oh, don't worry. I know.
I'll send the email.
I know. It's all impossible, but we love it.
Yeah.
The magic is happening.
The magic is happening.
It's happening.
What were we talking about?
Europe and fashion.
Europe and fashion.
Yeah, you want to get into fashion.
Yeah. No, we were talking about
training.
BACARDI. We're talking about BACARDI and how that came in to me. And that treatment process. Do we know what treatments are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. That's when you do the...
Yeah, when you do the
That's
like...
the thing. I send you guys that you never read.
This
I
like
do
60
read them.
page...
I actually read them because I've
I
had
read
to
everything.
where he's like, when I'm working a callback, make sure they get this, like, you know, when actors come in, because there are some who don't read it, but...
How could you
Because you're
not
literally
read it?
telling them what you
How
want.
could you not
And
read it?
Yeah.
But there's some that do. They don't.
How?
I mean, they actually
Why?
don't.
How could you not read it?
There's some...
Media training. I mean, no, the actors don't read the treatments.
Right,
We'll
that's
send
what
it to
the
them. Because
actors-
we're like, look, we'll send them the parts about casting and your guys' vision. And
Yeah, you get to actually visually see.
there's
an
so much an
example.
actor can do just even by watching old spots, because it's not like Chase is changing their direction
Right.
drastically from
Right.
commercial to commercial. Just look at the clothes they're wearing. Look at the style. Look at the tone. Like
Look at the treatment.
look at the
We'll
treatment.
win the job.
Yeah.
Look at the treatment.
Yeah.
But for us, treatments are, especially for me, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm a young female in this industry. So it's winning jobs. I don't have I'm against people that have been doing it for 20 years longer than me. In some cases, I'm up against big production companies that win all the Clios every year and win all the Cannes Lions and all this stuff. So breaking through the noise is something that's really important for a young director like myself. And the treatments are really an opportunity for us to show what we have. And my treatments are, I mean,
And you're doing them all yourself, or you have a treatment writer? Or?
I now have a designer. I write all my own treatments. I still do that. I will have to let go of that eventually, just because the time commitment. It's already really hard.
It's really hard.
What does it look like?
What do treatments look like?
Mhm.
Yeah, for a young, like, 16, 17, 18-year-old who's never done a commercial audition, what is that to you?
A treatment is a large 20 to 45 page document that essentially is for me, it's a kind of amusement park ride of what my vision is for the client or agency's commercials. It's a sort of sensorial exploration of everything that I'm going to do for them. And it goes from intro to tone, look and feel, cinematography, script, lighting, casting, wardrobe, edit, color, sound design, finishing. Like you lay out, and then any special stuff. Like if there's a lot of special effects involved in it, which there was for my BACARDI commercial, you have to sort of speak to that and let them know that you're not only the visionary for the job, but you're also the person that's going to execute it in time, on budget, stuff like that. So it's a huge audition that you spend, anywhere from a week to 2 weeks sort of working on it.
It's like
24 hours a day.
Yeah, it's like a PowerPoint, just like
Right.
badass PowerPoint.
And then also the way that you present it is really important.
Which
And
that game's gotten like is ridiculous.
What is that
and
like?
It's it's a
There's moving
skill.
images in it.
Moving
There's-
images. Well, and for BACARDI, and I have to really, fight really hard on my treatments because it's my opportunity to be like, look, I may not have 18 things in my reel that look exactly like you want, like my competitor.
Which is another thing. They want to be.
They want to
the-
see
yeah,
exactly.
you've done this exact same thing.
Yeah. And a lot of times I don't have that because I'm young and I'm working my ass off for every win. So for the BACARDI commercial, I did a test shoot because part of it was there's a lot of special effects involved. It's zombies and then ghosts making cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you pay for that?
My production company has a camera package, and I went out to their
So it doesn't
studios
cost you
and-
anything.
Yeah, it's just the people that our office manager at our class wore a green suit, and we filmed him making BACARDI cocktails, and then we have a post-production arm. I called my executive producer of post and was like, I need you to do me a solid on this one. Obviously, art class will do the post if we win this job. I need one of your editors for half a day to cut this together for my treatment. So it's a lot of, sort of entrepreneurship. It's a lot of reading through the brief. Also, with every brief I get, I'll get on the phone with my executive producer. Her name's Rebecca. She runs the show at our class, and we sort of, okay, what can we do that stands out? How can we pack a punch with this? What can you do that's different? And she's got a ton of other directors, and she's on set all over the world. So we spend like 45 minutes or half an hour going through what our strategy is to win. And then she's like, go. And then the director, we do it. It's all sort of completely, self-directed. When I talked about I am my own enterprise, that's kind of, even though I have
it's like a business plan.
Stuff,
yeah.
it's
like
the
worst self-tape ever.
Right. Yeah, but see, that's
it's
why...
It's so much work and
it's
so much detail.
work.
And so
I
much,
love them,
yeah.
personally.
And then you got to do a budget too, which is like insane and ton of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know
well,
that
it's like you do it for me, it's like in tandem, because I'm like, I'll call my head of production. Actually, a very dear friend of mine who's an incredible line producer in Austin. His name's Logan Gilmore. Hey. He now does a lot of bidding for art class. So he's a dear friend of mine, and he knows my tendencies on set, and I know he's brilliant at making the money work. So a lot of times I'm either calling him or I'm calling our head of production, and they're like, what are your tools? And I'm like, I have to have a Steadicam for this. I have to, I need a split diopter. I need this and that. For the BACARDI commercial, I wanted to have motion control so badly, and I fought so hard for it. And I finally secured motion control like the night before the day I needed it. And I knew that I was going to have to fight for it, with the money until the very, very end. So it's kind of a moving chessboard. Even whenever you win and you start production, you're still, as a commercial director, at least for me, I'm still kind of having to help put the pieces together, because I know how huge these pieces were going to be for my reel. Having motion control in my reel is incredible. I've never done that before. So just having that as a showpiece in my reel, then I can go out for other commercials that have motion control. It's sort of a constant working to get the next thing and this thing and that thing.
And all this work is done for free and on the hopes.
Yeah.
It's an audition,
Right.
So,
but see, I just want people to know, like, there's a lot that we don't see. I mean, we as actors, people, you hear actors like, oh, we got to prepare. We have to research. We have to do this. And then we have to tape. And then we have to, but you guys they're doing very similar. And I know there's a lot who do not know that.
So in these things, when you are doing the job, has casting been an issue for you that's come into play where you are making decisions? Or
casting is always typically the casting. Maybe you can speak more to this, but the casting agency or the casting director usually comes attached with the agency, and very often the agency is very involved in casting. So it's not always the director's decision, especially in commercials. Mm-hmm. And it's nowadays it's all. I mean, I really miss taping in the not taping, but I really miss holding auditions in the room. I was only able to do that like a handful of times before. With commercials before the pandemic sort of changed everything. But yeah, it's typically tapes and then live rooms. And it's hard for commercials because at the same time as you want people that can deliver fun, dynamic, and extraordinary performances, you're also selling the product to Joe in Idaho, and it's what Joe in Idaho needs might be different than what someone in Los Angeles and New York needs. So especially when you're preparing a television commercial and casting it at TVC, you have to think about casting for the whole country, not casting just for the area that you're in. Mm-hmm. I try to make commercial casting fun. I did a Dell commercial for Alienware, I think at the beginning of this year or at the very end of last year.
I auditioned for that.
Really?
Yeah. I remember that. Because I remember I had to look up Alienware. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that was me.
What?
Yeah, and I tried, it was meant to be all these like Gen Z kids in a library discovering the fact that Alienware was so like sick. And so it was a bunch of really young people. And I decided that I wanted to read Superbad with them in the casting room. Like I was reading jokes from Superbad with them and sort of seeing how they would react. And my production company and the agency was like, they don't have speaking roles. Why are we reading Superbad? And I was like, you will see why we're reading Superbad. And we start, a lot of really fun stuff came out of it. And these kids, like, 20, 21 years old, were able to bring something to it that was really exciting. And that kind of ended up shifting the tone of the commercials a little bit. And it was shifted towards the tone that I really was interested in. It was a little bit more fun and a little bit more whimsical and just a little bit more poppy than it was before we did the casting process. So I made this choice to make a weird decision for the casting room because I wanted the whole team to see that this could be really this could be a little bit more wacky than we were comfortable with. And they loved it. Like it was really great. And then we added a day and that was sick. They gave me a 2-day shoot.
I mean, a lot of times the room is
because
where
the casting.
That's
it was awesome.
Yeah, the room is where the first time that you're meeting these people, that you guys are all coming together. This thing's, you're seeing it on its feet. It's like a table read kind of. It's coming to life, and you're figuring out what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah,
and you get a sense of the actor, whether or not you guys might work well together, right?
For sure, and you get a sense of if they can take direction or if they're excited, especially when you're working with, I'm sure you see it all the time. We want the Gen Z audience. We want to, get the Gen Z audience. When you're working with really young actors, are they, and they're coming from school or something, or are they excited to be on camera, because you never know.
So this sounds like another point for in the room castings, right?
Let's get into it.
In the room auditions, right?
Yeah.
This is like a good thing for having people be in the room
Sure.
during their auditions.
100%.
Yay.
Even if it's virtual room.
Okay.
I know all about how Heather feels about this. I love casting in the room.
Virtual
I think
rooms
it's so fun.
is like a close second.
Second. I love it because they're always really nervous, and because I understand, it's like you want to win the commercial job. You want to get it's great money. You want to, I do too. Like we're all trying to win commercial jobs for our mortgages and such, and it's so everyone's always really nervous. But
let's talk about The Mandalorian and when you don't get to be in the room.
Yes,
and how
it was
weird that is.
Well, that came casted because...
So what is it? Tell what it is.
So
tell what happened.
In 2020, I was able to be a part of the Mandalorian promo campaign, which we spoke about at the top of the podcast. And it was one of those Disney ESPN crossovers. So it's Disney owns ESPN. So it's essentially using ESPN talent that are already working for ESPN, that are already anchors, using it
they've done a phenomenal job with those campaigns. They're so good. Yeah.
And
they're so funny.
The writers are really amazing. Yeah. The creative director of the in-house agency is really great. He's a friend of my production companies. They're really cool. They're really rad, and they should come back and work with me. Yeah, so some Disney anchors, Jalen Rose, Kenny Mayne, I forget the other two.
ESPN anchors.
Their ESPN anchors were my talent, essentially. And
how did you get this job?
Well, I just pitched on it. It came through I was at a different production company at the time in New York. And it came through, and I was bidding against two boys that had a lot of boy work, that had a lot of sporty boy work in their reel. And I had glittery cowgirls. I hadn't done a lot of commercials at the time. And I, knew that it was going to be a hard win for me because I was against sporty boys, and I am Posh Spice. I'm not Sporty Spice. So, but I really, in the treatment, I really leaned into the fact that I'm a filmmaker, and I work with filmmakers, and I'm a highly trained and studied filmmaker. I know I don't have a lot of sporty stuff, but I do have a lot of beautiful cinematography, and I know how to handle anamorphic lenses, and incredible at building wardrobe. And part of the task was to recreate a Mandalorian costume without the actual costume. So they weren't going to give it to us. So we had to kind of recreate it in a way that was really interesting and obviously fell in line with the brand of the show, but that also had its own identity that could stand on its own in the commercial. And that's a big task for a director and for a wardrobe stylist to work with that kind of IP.
Yeah, especially because you have the best of the best creating those costumes, the best in the world.
So we had to create something, and we ended up building it kind of in a. He wears like leather pants. It's kind of like punk rocky, which is always my tendency. But yeah, I bid on it, and I just on the creative director of the ESPN agency, we just really hit it off, and he's really great, and he was like, let's give her a shot. And I won, and it was my first union shoot, and it was the middle of the pandemic, and 2 of my talent were in the NBA bubble. So the commercial starts off with a Zoom screen, and all 4 of the talent interact, and I shot them all separately, which was a lot.
Yeah.
And they all kind of look to each other's Zoom
Square
grids and speak to each other, which was crazy. And then some action. You go into Kenny Mayne's world, and he ends up being chased by the Mandalorian at his home in Connecticut. So we did a Zoom, like a remote shoot, sent basically like hazmated people into the NBA bubble with, camera, very, very easily operated camera technology into the hotel rooms of these 2 NBA or ESPN anchors that were in the bubble during the NBA finals. And I directed them from New York, them within the NBA bubble. And then that was a whole day. And then we did one day, a night shoot in Connecticut with Kenny Mayne at his house. And that was so fun and so incredible. And I got to build this Mandalorian suit and then chase Kenny Mayne all around.
His house.
His house. Well, it wasn't his house, but
right.
His house. And it was so fun. And one of the things that they told me about Kenny was he doesn't like reading his lines. And I was like, okay, let me go hang out with him in his trailer for like an hour. And like, I think he'll read his lines, And so I go and hang out with him in his trailer, and he was so cool. And we just sort of had a great kind of banter about us. And he really wanted to have fun. And he does all kinds of commercials, like he's ESPN, they put their anchors on camera
right.
for ESPN.
They
but
understand
also,
performance.
Yeah. And they're really talented. And he just wanted to have fun. And I was like, the Mandalorian is chasing you. Like, how sick, And he was like, all right, I'll read my lines for you. And he read the lines, and then we did a whole bunch of ad lib. A lot of it ended up making the spot. And it, again, because of our banter, the spot and the tone of the spot changed a lot. And it ended up being a lot more fun and playful than was scripted, even though the ESPN team are incredible writers and they write really well for their talent. It was just that extra kind of oomph that the spot needed, that like hour that me and Kenny spent kind of being like, okay, like it's the pandemic, we've got wristbands on, we're in bubbles, like this is a massive union shoot and we don't even have vaccines. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Let's have fun. Let's lock you in a trunk. And we did.
This could be the last.
Right.
This could be the last thing you do.
We're all going down.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And it was my first DGA day. So I was like, okay, is the industry ending while I'm beginning?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a DGA director now. Like, what's happening? And it was an amazing experience, and it taught me so much. And again, it was working with the talent that really, my connection with actors and talent and my ability to sort of cut through the vibe of like, he's not going to read his lines for you, and be like, he will.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. Was what made the spot special. And that's sort of, I think I can say that for pretty much everything that's in my reel commercially.
Getting a creative connection with the talent and creating that magic space. That space that's the space.
Yes, the spinning in the tutu space.
Yep.
And so now you take that into casting your upcoming feature. What are your thoughts for that?
Well, overwhelmed at thoughts for that, obviously. I have been developing this feature with my producer, Michael Riley, he optioned it 2 years ago. And he is the co-writer and one of the producers on last year's Emmett Till movie, Till. And he, was a big shepherd of that project and had been working on it for years and years and years with the whole producing team. And so he's coming off a pretty successful run with that movie. And he is building his own production company, his own roster of small independent projects that he's producing. And he read my script 2 years ago and, was really honest with me about it. He kind of looked at me and he was like, the world is extraordinary. I love the world. Script needs a lot of work. And I was like, great, tear it apart. Let's rebuild it. Let's go. So he optioned it and we've been tearing it apart and rebuilding it for 2 years. But we're just now at the point where we're getting outside eyes on it. And it's going to go out for finance reads over the holidays. So
you already have human beings in mind as you're writing along? Like, you don't have to name names, but is that how you
I do.
Is that how you write? Like, do you picture
What's
actors?
interesting is that I wrote one of the lead characters for an actress that now, as the movie has developed so much, she actually makes sense for a different character. Part of it is what has gone on in her life in the last couple of years, partially because she's since had a child, and the movie is hugely about motherhood and mental illness and girls and all of the things that moms and daughters do together to heal and survive, which we have always connected so strongly about. Yeah, I don't know that I don't actually know that it makes sense for her anymore. And that's interesting because I had sort of a really powerful vision of this actress in this movie for years and years. And it's wild to see it in my head and it's not her, and what that means for my casting process. But also, of course, as I get closer to getting this movie out in the market to be read, the conversations are starting of as we all know how casting goes, market value, and this is going to be a low budget movie, and who's going to be willing to do it, especially coming out of the last year that we all had in this industry with all the strikes. Is anyone going to read it? That would want to do it now that the industry's kind of flipped back on and people are back filming their huge TV shows and stuff like that. But I actually think it's a really interesting time for a first feature to enter the market, because I think people are much more willing to take on roles that are scary and hard. And they, after, a year of kind of picketing and waiting for the industry to come back, I think there's going to be a lot of actresses that are going to be interested in what it takes to be in the movie, which you're always like, give Heather something easy. These are not easy. These are tough roles, but I think
that what makes it worth it, though, is to the human story to show and tell, so people can connect and grow.
Yeah.
Sorry. You're good at it.
But it's exciting, it's cool. It's hard. It's gonna be hard. But it's okay. You're gonna be great.
Yeah. We believe in you. Here's your tutu. Start spinning.
Yes.
It's okay. No, I think things should be hard, especially this generation coming up. I don't think knows enough of things being hard that are beneficial.
Yeah.
I don't think things need to be just hard for hard's sake. I mean, I think there's a lot of crap out there right now that's just scary and fear-based just to be scary and fear-based just to fuck you up. And I think we need less of that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think there can be definitely some more like hopeful, good, enjoying life and like onus put on valuing and cherishing life and having goodness in our relationships. It doesn't have to all be, Thanksgiving, chop everyone up, and like that's where we get our pleasure. Sorry. No. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't have to all be like that's where we derive our joy from. It's just like fear, turn on the war, and all of that.
I watch trailers now, and I'm just like, this is not good.
It's not good, right?
I think
like
trailers they lost their.
It's just not healthy.
It's not healthy to just like
to think about end of the world time.
Right?
Like, everyone died.
They lost their magic.
Like,
thank you. You heard me. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I could go on, but it's like, it's okay. I'm doing something now where I'm playing an acting teacher, and I actually, there's a moment where I'm talking to the class, and I'm like, okay, who's done anything hard lately? Because I think there's this, tendency for everyone to be like, oh, that's hard, I'm going to go report you or whatever. It's like you pushed me too hard. And I think there's, on the other side of boredom lies creativity. I think, we don't allow ourselves to get bored anymore because and, on the other side of like struggle, there's a feeling of like, accomplishment. Like, I got through something hard and I grew a little bit, and like, I'm feeling better about myself. I gained a new strength or something. And I think we all need like a little bit more of that in our life. Yeah. So, some of that hardship and struggle is good to go through. There's a good place on the other side of it. So it's not that I think that we shouldn't have that.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think there's a deep responsibility in writing sad girl stuff and writing sad movies. I think and I take that responsibility very seriously.
I think you're a good person to do it.
Thank you.
I think there are certain hands, and I think certain stories told, there's a real need for it. Yeah. Because people need to go through those emotions and those experiences. I think it's actually detrimental to not allow ourselves to feel those things. I think it's important. Just as cheesy as this sounds, a butterfly going, it's important for the struggle. That's where they learn to use their wings. It's like someone once tried to help a butterfly or whatever, and then they couldn't fly. Did you ever hear that story? They felt sorry for the butterfly trying to struggle out of the cocoon, and they tried to help him out. And that was like where they learned. They got the whatever juices, and that's how they learn how to use their
You're a
wings
magical being.
Or whatever.
You're a magical being, and you don't know why yet, but you're a magical being.
I'm just a nerd.
No, okay, so my movie.
Yeah.
It's
called Metamorphosis.
No, it's about a teenage girl that is coming of age right at the onset of her schizophrenia. And her first hallucination is a butterfly that comes to her when she's in biology class in high school. And the butterflies become a very intense presence in her life until she learns to put herself on tracks, to seek help, to seek guidance, to find solace in her mother, to seek treatment. So
kind of crazy.
It's
you
actually,
bring that up. Yeah.
It's actually
no, that makes so much sense in her. It makes so much sense.
It's actually one of the harder parts of motherhood is when your child falls down or can't tie their shoe, is not to just swoop in and help them with it immediately, but to allow that struggle to happen so that they can learn, how to do it for themselves, because on the other side of that struggle is where they gain strength and whatnot. So I hope that, and well, I know you, and I know how you are, and I know that you will see this movie come to fruition, and that you will.
I'm in for it.
You are in for the long haul, and that you will be joining forces in the European market with fashion at some point, if not with Louis Vuitton and Marfa. And we'll be doing some great ad campaigns in the future.
Of course. I'll be around. Trust me. One of my biggest things is building a very long career. I'm just getting started.
I'm excited to see it. I look forward to it. I'm glad to have your voice out there. So
yes, thank you. Thank you all for having me.
Thanks so much for coming, Emily.
Bye.
I love you.
Love you.
Our show today was recorded in studio by the good folks at Record ATX. Check them out at recordatx.com. Our theme music is produced by Jonathan Price. You can check out some of the sounds he makes with his project, The Mid-Cities, on Spotify. Follow, subscribe, and smash that like button if you see one. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.